everybody.
How's it going?
How's it going?
All right, it's good to be back at the saddle, isn't it, Troy?
It is. It's been a weird couple weeks. It feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But,
Marquis, we were gone to Gen Con over the past
Oh,
week, and then
how was it?
it was good.
it was
Wouldn't you
really
say,
good.
Troy? Yeah.
It was
Cool,
really
cool.
Not as big as it was before
Mm.
COVID, but certainly almost that size again.
Yeah, it's
So
getting back. It's
getting back
what about
there.
down about 20,000 people,
Yeah.
but that still puts it at 55,000.
Yeah, still huge. We had a convention here recently, HeroesCon, and it was
Mm.
bigger than it's been in a while since it's post-COVID. It's like it just like jumped up in two sizes. It was cool.
Oh, fantastic!
What's
hmm
Heroes
hmm
Con about?
Yeah.
Pretty much is usually probably predominant like comic book stuff and everything, but there's also like anime, Japanese shit, game stuff, all kinds of stuff on there.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's
Mhm.
interesting.
How
Do
many?
they?
How many people do you think?
Ooh, probably probably like 20,000. So about how much Gen Con was down, but
Nice.
still
That's where
nice.
everybody was
Yeah,
at. That's where everybody was at.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So about origin size then was what it sounds like, Troy. That's a good
hmm
sized
Yeah.
con. Yeah, that's great.
We may have to. We may have to visit North Carolina.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's every like June, I think, or July. One of those two. June, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you go and just check it out, or do you go, or is it just something that's in the neighborhood?
I go. I go. I used to go every year when I was like a teenager. But now it's like I go every now and again. I went now because after COVID, I was like, I wonder what it's like. I haven't had like a booth there or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's usually pretty dope there. I've gotten a lot of super cool stuff there. I met some cool people.
Nice. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did Gen Con,
yeah.
and then the week before that, I did a con called Can't Con, which is here in Kansas City. Uh, yeah,
Creative
and
name.
yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, they called it Can't Con because traditionally, way back when, it was started because people from Kansas City weren't able to make the drive to Gen Con. They couldn't go, so it was Can't Con. And it's just a
Mm.
really tiny con, and then they obviously, of course, decided to keep it because it was successful.
hmm
And so they decided to change it from Can't C-A-N-T to Can't K-A-N-T because why not?
That's
And
cute.
Sure.
yeah, and so yeah, it's like a nice little like I think they said it was just under 1,000 people this time around.
mm.
So, but a lot of games being played. It was really cool. Like a lot of
That's super
RPGs,
cool.
all sorts of things. Like sometimes even like at the bigger cons, it gets saturated with like the top five RPGs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of Shadowrun, you'll see a lot of uh, uh, Chaosium, you'll see a lot of Pathfinder, you see a lot of D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and then just a sprinkling of other things. But CantCon had a lot of everything, so that was kind of
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I feel like that was the way it was at Gary Con too. There
yeah,
was a
Gary
lot of
Con.
new stuff.
Yeah, Gary Con had a lot of it had a lot of new stuff. It had a lot of like OSR stuff. That was a lot of
Mm.
what was at
That's
Gary.
what I would expect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of it was awesome, right? Like DCC has a big presence there, so
That's cool.
yeah, a lot of that.
DCC is super fun, so I'm glad that it's blowing up
Yeah,
with
they had a
cons. That's
great
really dope.
Yes.
yeah, they had a great booth at Origins and a great booth at Gen Con. I think they
Oh yeah,
sold
they
out
got
of a
a.
lot of their stuff at Gen Con, so that was cool.
They
Mm.
did. They have a really cool. What would you call that? The thing that they keep all their stuff in. Is it like a would you say a pyramid or a ziggurat?
Ziggurat, yeah,
Ziggurat.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a ziggurat in their booth,
That's cool.
and apparently, unbeknownst to me until it was too late. I mean, Girk tried to get me to go to the Lucas Oil
Yeah,
Stadium to
yeah.
get my picture taken as the wizard,
Ooh.
Mm,
but they also had the wizard van,
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
and
They
you could play
hauled in.
games in the wizard
Oh,
van.
that's cool.
So
That's super lit.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want one of
right.
those ziggurats though. I should bring that around with me if I gotta make a booth and put one in.
That's right.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Combine the two.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
van that's a ziggurat,
There we go. Now
and
we're
you just
talking.
drive that. Yeah,
hmm
I think we're onto something.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've given people a few minutes to hop in if they want to. Uh, Marquise, we're going to go ahead and get started with the recording. I'm going to make sure that Troy has hit the record button.
I have.
Awesome. All right. So if you're listening, we're going to be chatting with Marquise about his Kickstarter that is coming soon. I always like it when we get creators on just before the project goes live. That's an exciting, nerve-wracking, busy time. So good time to chat about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be the plan. We're going to do a chat with Marquise. Then we're going to hang up for a little while, and then we're going to come back at 9:30 Central to talk with Brian Collin about his Kickstarter. So, and his is on the tail end, so you're kind of getting both ends of the Kickstarter spectrum here. So,
Yeah, there you go.
all right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Geekscant, the home of RPG goodness and general tomfoolery. My name is Zach, and the host joining me this evening is the Dungeon Master, Troy Sandlin.
Major tomfoolery reporting.
Awesome.
I,
Awesome. All right.
and since John's not here, lolly ho.
There you go. He's not that deep a voice. Don't give him credit where
I,
credit's not due.
I mean, you know.
And then we've also got a special guest and creator here on the show with us, Marquis from Shardstone.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, what's up?
You
Welcome.
Do you consider Shardstone to be your brand, or is this the brand for this particular series of projects for you?
It is the overall brand. We have another project that we did last year for ZingQuest, which was called Skullbox. So we do have a
Yeah,
little bit of diversity in there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Skullbox. I didn't
Thank you.
pick it up at ZingQuest last year, but I picked it up off Exalted Funeral
Hmm.
afterwards, and it was super rad. And I loved had like a packet of stuff when it got
Yeah.
kicked out from Exalted, so that was cool. Nice surprise.
Yeah, a little holographic sticker was my favorite part of it. I
Oh
put it on my
yeah,
phone
yeah,
case.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There is so
Oh, there
much
you
cool
go.
stuff. One other thing I like, and this show isn't necessarily about Skullbox, but I gotta remark that the styling on that zine and on even like the video, I remember the video for the
Hmm.
Kickstarter was so what's the right word? Iconic, so
Hmm.
unique, and it just like captured you. Like if there was one, there's maybe like 2 or 3 projects from last year's Zine Quest that like if you think back to Zine Quest 2021, you're like those are the ones that stuck with you. Those are the ones that you remember. And Skullbox was definitely there for me.
Dope. I'm glad to hear that. So else
Yeah,
is fun to make. That video was made by my friend Locrius, and he went crazy on it. That video was mesmerizing.
yeah, it was. If you don't remember, dear listener, dear viewer, Troy, it like it had this dope music, and then it would just like zoom from one like box to another, and from one image to another, like you were constantly spiraling or
Hmm.
enhancing further and further into the imagery. It was really cool.
I feel like I kind of remember something that you showed that, but I'm gonna have to go back and
It was some fun
watch
cartoon
it again.
insanity.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Nice.
Well, today though, we're here to talk about. I got super intrigued when you sent me over the preview for your Kickstarter, and I'm gonna share that preview with the live audience here in a moment. But before we do, when you sent me this over, I realized that you were somebody, or that you had done a project that uh, I had seen before, and that I believe we talked about on the show before. And I just didn't put 2 and 2 together
Mm.
that it was the same creator across several different things. Because Marquise, you've also done some writing, collaborating with me on, and
Hmm.
Andrew Bashinsky.
Hmm. Hmm. I
So
did Den of Assassins and Deep and Dangerous.
that's right. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
on.
And but you also did a 5e setting a little while
Hmm.
ago called Scavenger.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like Troy, we talked about Scavenger on the show, but it's been a while.
Hmm.
But I remember as soon as I saw like the banner art, I'm like, yeah, I remember this. This looked cool. So tell me about. So this is, but we're gonna talk about Scavenger Crimson
Hmm.
Catalyst here in a moment. But this is a follow up.
Hmm.
So help people know Marquis, what came before and kind of what's been the lead up to this project?
Yeah, so Scavenger is a fifth edition setting. It's a different mixture of inspirations than you would expect. So it's Bronze Age mixed with punk, mixed with science fantasy. So essentially, what Scavenger is, it takes place on this world called Akara, which is a Bronze Age civilization. Kara had no magic for the longest time, though it did have a couple other races, species on it. But in this one city called Tarnak, there is something called the Monolith. And 50 years ago, the monolith opened, and when they went through it, they found themselves in this strange alien dimension, this world that was seemingly torn apart by forces they couldn't understand, which they call Torn for short. And from Torn, they bring back these beautiful, scintillating red gemstones called Shardstones. And Shardstones essentially, once you attune to them, let you warp reality, aka they let you perform like magical feats and everything. And that's where the science fantasy starts coming in. So people are going to Torn and they're getting messed up, and these people are called scavengers, hence the name of the setting. But about 10 years ago, something mysterious happens where these natural disasters begin to destroy Akara. These storms that could literally swallow and disappear cities, same with these floods, these heat raids that would kill millions and millions and millions of like birds and other life forms on the savannah. The world was undergoing what is known as the cataclysm or the great dying. So scavengers now are going to this Torn to try and figure out what's happening, maybe find another place to go. In Torn, there are these alien ruins and other monoliths that lead to places that are locked, so they don't know how to go through them. And they're looking for, again, either a way to stop the cataclysm or another place to go, because if they don't, everything is going to be destroyed and killed.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Why did I not get scavengers?
Well, let's talk about that. Talk to me about one of the things that I find fascinating anytime I talk to a creator is you do a Kickstarter,
Mm-hmm.
and then what happens, right? Like what was the process like after the Scavengers Kickstarter wrapped or whatnot, and you started to go into that creation mode of getting something together?
Mm-hmm. So Scavenger began with the artist, that's Andy Alexandru, who sadly could not be here today. Hi, Andy. Andy Alexandru is an amazing Swedish artist. He had been drawing some paintings for a while, and then I slid into his DMs and we started talking about it. Then we did the Kickstarter. When we were making the book, making the original setting, so I wanted everything in the book to be very gameable. I'm very strong in with my prose and my poetry, but I wanted that as you were reading it, you're getting like adventure hooks, playable content out of it. I was very influenced by the OSR and that kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the setting of Akara in it, and we made that. Then we started working on Torn, and we made 3 big adventure locations in Torn,
Mm-hmm.
and we played with the 5E rules a little bit. Scavenger doesn't use the skills; it uses ability score proficiency, for example. When you make your character, you pick what's called a paradigm, and your paradigm is represented by one of 3 5e classes. Like Drifter would be Bard, Ranger, Rogue, or Warlord would be Barbarian, Paladin, Fighter, that kind of thing. And there's 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And we introduced a little bit at the time, but not fully, some of our advanced magic item mechanics and other system mechanics and everything. And we put it together and sent it out. Unfortunately, COVID happened, so it has been issues with the shipping and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the PDF has been out for a good long while, and we have all that done. And we started working afterwards immediately on our set of follow-up books that we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
So
Mm-hmm.
people can pick up. So just for people who want to start from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, they can pick up a PDF at the moment
Yep.
for Scavenger, and then if they want, they can. It looks like here they can pre-order if they want to for the book, or will
Yep.
that be
So
available?
what they can do is you can get the PDF now, but we will have a tier on our Kickstarter when it launches this week. That will be get both the Scavenger PDF and Crimson Catalyst, and you'll be getting the Scavenger PDF at a discount if you do that. We also have a Scavenger Quick Starter that is on Drive-Thru RPG, and that will also be on the front page of the new Kickstarter we're doing as well.
Perfect.
Nice.
That's a good segue then. So we've got this setting that you put
Mm-hmm.
together, and that's already available in digital form.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Crimson Catalyst, and we're going to be showing off a preview of the page. So I know you said you're going to launch probably
Cool.
on Wednesday, which is
Mm-hmm.
going to be the 17th. Um, so some of the things that our live viewers might see here might shuffle around a little bit before the live
Mm-hmm.
page. But tell us about Crimson Catalyst. Where does this take the setting?
Yeah, so Crimson Catalyst is a lot of things that none of them are skimmed in detail, but it is wearing a few hats. So you can imagine Crimson Catalyst is almost like our PHB, our Monster Manual, and our DMG wrapped up in one. So think about like Adventures in Rokugan that just came out for L5R or Ruins of Symbaroum for Symbaroum. We're
Right on.
doing something like that, but you still get to use the 5e classes with it. But we
Hmm.
expand both our magic system lore wise. We introduce new rules. One of the core rules we're introducing, for example, was like Force of Will, where you don't really have spell slots and you can spend Force of Will to power magic items, cast spells, or regain class features, stuff like that. We'll have a huge amount of materials for DMs to use to prep games with Scavenger and everything. And also, you can very easily cross apply these materials to your own settings. If you have anything that's apocalyptic or intense survival or really weird magic kind of ideas, or if you have like a Conan-esque city going on, like a corrupted old city,
Hmm.
all that stuff will sing with the scavenger material. And then we have a huge bestiary and a lot of magic items, a lot of expansive, evolving magic items.
That's
Awesome.
really cool. That's
Awesome.
really
Mm-hmm.
cool. It's funny you say Conan because, like, reading through this preview page, I got Conan, I got Dark Sun,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got John Carter of Mars,
Mm-hmm.
all that cool, iconic vibe from this product, and like I said before we started recording, the artwork is sweet. I love it.
Andy is amazing. He's super dope with what he makes. He has a strong vision. What we're trying to do is, those are all of our references, of course. We're also trying to push that overall genre of like the mid-apocalyptic, almost like Mad Max-esque fantasy,
Hmm.
Hmm.
uh, to like a more contemporary look at it, basically in 2022, bringing in new themes and everything. So Scavenger is very punk. It's very queer. The science fantasy elements, I think, were also worked in to create this kind of weird, not illusion, but like a mix of like, you have these nascent people who don't have a scientific method, and now they're coming in contact with all this crazy magic physics and chemistry and reality stuff. Because all the magic concepts, for the most part, I'm basing off of current modern day study in like physics and chemistry and that kind of thing, and extrapolating from that these concepts that I think like these bronze age people are having would just lead to some really weird stuff happening as a result.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. And we were talking before we went live about, DCC and some of the craziness that they
Mm-hmm.
get into. And there's a draw to that, I think, that is beginning to emerge in our
Mm-hmm.
community. I think DCC is picking up some steam. At least that's how it feels. A lot of that like weirder side of sci-fi and
Mm-hmm.
fantasy is something that is drawing people again, which is really cool. And so, yeah, I think there's always stepping stones, right? And
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to stop at different stepping stones, but there's always stepping stones from one system or one genre to another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to, there's a lot of 5e people out there who would be very hesitant about diving straight into DCC,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they
Hmm.
or something like that, right? A whole new system, but they're intrigued by this idea of weird fantasy or weird sci-fi or
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi blended with fantasy in bizarre ways. And so, WotC does their thing with that, but I think that there's an enormous amount of room there for something
So
like
much.
Scavenger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, piggybacking off of that, I feel like the stuff coming out of WotC, it, they maybe toe the water a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and weird and stuff like that. But they've always got the guardrails up. They've always got you're always wearing your life vest. You're always tethered.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
safe. And what I love about creators like this, and their creations like this, they it's like it feels like you've just thrown away all the
Mm-hmm.
safety measures, and it's like let's get weird, let's
Yeah.
just do it.
Yep.
I love the concept of force of will. I've been
Mm-hmm.
tinkering with that for years in my own home campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
just because I, I I like the idea of magic having a cost,
Mm-hmm.
and D&D only shows that cost in as much as how much you can safely cast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I'm in trouble? my people are in trouble, and
Yeah.
I have to push.
Hmm.
What are the consequences of that? WotC D&D doesn't give us that, but this has that. How far do you want to push your game?
And that exact idea was the main motivator as I was designing Crimson Catalyst. I wanted to have this feeling where, one, it could be very cinematic. I like super cinematic
Hmm.
combat and scenes, but I really like those moments where it feels like you're going beyond your limits and you could very well, or you definitely will, get burned by it. So
Yes.
here, you could go past your limits and in tuning the magic items and get these things called warp scars, which if you go too far, you become this mutant scavenger hunter called an odium. Or you could go too far with another path and develop what's called symptoms of affliction, which basically takes you to this weird undead state. And if you go the logically both ways to the very end for power to try and save what you want to save or what have you, you end up becoming these weird transcendent things that basically have to be killed or they'll kill everything else. So it's like you can go too far with it. Just fun.
I love everything about this so far.
Cool.
The thing that caught my eye when I was looking through the quick start, especially, I stumbled across your glossary of terms here,
Hmm.
and I don't know, they're like as soon as I read it, I'm like, this is I think what separates the idea of fantasy from the idea of weird fantasy. In
Hmm.
at least in one way, right? Is the idea that like, listen, there's going to be some things here that don't make sense on the surface or that are pretty strange, and I'm going to need to help you
Hmm.
understand with a few terms, right?
Hmm.
Um, and to me, that's just cool because it means I'm signing up for something different. But also, it communicates to me that the creator um, has intent
Hmm.
and story and meaning and ideas behind what's put on the page, right? Like it's not just sitting there and typing it out. There's some thought behind it to say like, "Oh, I
Hmm.
need to make a new word for this. Oh, and not only do I need to make a new word, but I need to help everybody who's reading this make sure that they understand what that
Hmm.
word means, right? Because now we have right now it looks like it's about 15 words or so, but we have a shared new language that we need
Hmm.
to use to talk about Shardstones and Scavenger. And that shared language is gonna, that's how community is built. That's how
Hmm.
the culture is built around it, and the way that we know that, you know, one of us is connected to the other one is because we can
Hmm.
share the same language. So I really dig it a lot.
Thank you.
Yes.
The making of the cultures is something that for Scavenger 1 was like the biggest amount of thought that we put into it. We wanted Akara to be a world that, even though it is a new world, one, you can find the humanity in it, which can make it familiar to you. And we wanted it to feel at least somewhat real. We wanted to have that kind of depth that, like, Dune, for example, has, that
Hmm.
when you read a Dune book, you're in Dune. Like, Dune
Yeah.
is a real future of what could be going on. I want this to feel something kind of like that in the same aspect. So I'm glad it seems that way. And the glossary was needed because we do have a lot of weird words and weird terms jumping at you at this in this book.
So I see a lot of like you talked about how this is like really your DMG, your player's handbook, and your monster
Hmm.
manual all rolled into one, right? But
Hmm.
it's weird. As soon as I read into this, I'm like, yeah, but I would also like to see, is there any thought to doing like, and it's weird. I rarely feel this way, especially with supplements for like 5e or whatnot. But I
Hmm.
immediately looked through this and was like, I would really like to see some fiction tied to this setting
Hmm.
as well. Is
Hmm.
that something that this isn't really tied to the Kickstarter, I suppose, but is that something that you've considered, or is that, it
Oh,
feels like there's some of that
definitely.
behind it?
So in Scavenger, the first Kickstarter, we do have little bits of flash fiction I wrote throughout it and poetry I made through it for it. But in the future, we do hope to expand to like novels, art books, bigger short story projects like that. We really think that Scavenger as a world is that something that a lot of people could enjoy and find something for themselves in it. And I think that it's a world that in exploring, you can kind of expand your own imagination, which is a big thing I want to do with people who read this. I want to show them things that they probably couldn't have thought of themselves, so that way they can create something that I myself couldn't have thought of, and kind of just like give back to the community in that way, and more than just a game. So yeah.
What's the timeline looking like this on this for you, or what? is there? I mean, that seems like a dumb question to ask in today's
Basically,
world with.
how long do we have to wait?
Yeah, that's right.
Once
So
this funds, how long do we have to wait?
once this funds, what we'll be doing is we'll have the PDF out. Our date for that is by December for our deadline. We
Oh,
want to have the PDF out sooner if we can. We've been doing a lot of work on it already, so we're not starting from scratch. It's, I would say, it's about half done. I would say for everything, and then in terms of outlining, it's all done. Then we have to send the drive-through. Of course, it's like a 6 week minimum wait. So we're saying February, March for the print on demand will be ready. And that'll be that. So, but yeah, you'll hopefully will have Crimson Catalyst by December, and Mashallah, you'll have it before December too. So that'll be dope.
oh,
Awesome, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, this is launching. Scavenger Crimson Catalyst is launching, hopefully, on the
Mm-hmm.
17th, Wednesday. But before then, or during then, or after then, where can people find Marquis if they wanna follow you?
Yeah, so primarily you guys can find us at shardstone.net. We're also on Instagram at Shardstone Assembly, and you can find us on Twitter at Shardstone Arts. Any of those places, you'll be able to get to Shardstone, and through Shardstone, you can reach Marquis, which is cool.
Right
okay.
on, right on. Well, Marquise, very much we appreciate you hopping on tonight, and
Thank
we
you.
wish you
Thank
the
you.
best of luck on your launch. I
I
can't see any
appreciate it.
way that you're not going to be successful with it. I mean, it looks amazing.
Here's
Um,
hoping.
so I'm just I think I'm with Troy at this point. We're like just hit the launch button today, and we'll get you
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marquise. Folks, if you listen to this live, we've got another episode coming to you in about an hour. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Marquise, and have a great game, everybody. And back, Scavengers.
Crimson Catalyst.
Crimson Catalyst.